What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your Brewmaster-in-Chief. And tonight, in the BrewLab, I'm coming at you with the final episode of Wilds of Eldraine Spoiler Talk! Ding, 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 ding. The entire set has been spoiled. You can now go and find it pretty much everywhere. And you know what that means. Some theory brewing may commence. I'm probably going to be using Moxfield because I just like the way they do it. But there's actually now plenty of websites where you can go and start theory brewing away because the entire set is available, digitally on these deck building websites. So let the brewing begin. Early access is less than a week away as I'm recording this, just about 6 days away until early access. So I'm trying my best to get ready this time around so that I've got some brews ready to go on day one, so that I can record some epic early access content for you guys before the actual set drops on Arena on September 5th, I believe it is. But I'm still going to be relying on a Mythic spoiler here, except now I've gone to the page where this is the entire set now. And for those of you who've been through a few spoiler seasons, such as myself, will know the final day is usually just a bunch of commons and uncommons, and I did go through all of them, and there are a couple that stuck out to me, so I will make sure to point those out. But another thing that I've noticed is that Mythic Spoiler, because of the leaks that came out before official spoiler season, they didn't update their spoilers page, because it comes day by day, as you've been seeing in these episodes of Spoiler Talk. And there was some cards missing from the day by day that I noticed other content creators talking about on their channels, and it got me thinking, why didn't they put those up in the order that they were actually spoiled officially, through all of the various people that got to do card releases and whatnot, or card reveals as they're called. So I just ended up assuming that it was to do with the fact that a bunch of them got leaked beforehand, and then I sort of skipped over the leaks in my attempt to pretend that didn't happen, and then I missed a bunch of the rares and the mythics, and there's a lot of stuff that I want to mention with regards to those cards. So I know the ones that they are, and as we kind of scrolling through today, I will point them out and have a few things to say about them. But I think today's video is mostly sort of a overall set review. And things that stood out to me, things that I believe will be immediately okay, day one, go out and craft yourself 4 of these because they're going to be fundamental stuff like that. I'm just gonna scroll through things and talk and go over the things that we missed in previous episodes of Spoiler Talk, and then just give an overall sort of set review. So I hope that's clear before we jump right into it. And I wanted to start off with the roles, because I did bring them up a lot. I talked about them in Spoiler Talk Part 1, but I was just clicking through the YouTube video from the debut that Wizards put up on their official YouTube channel, and I didn't actually dive into these cards I didn't actually ever show you guys the tokens like this. So this is how they will present themselves both in paper and on Arena, and as you can see, they're double-sided. They've given us here on... what I don't understand is, I think there's one missing here, because Virtuous Royal or Young Hero, Royal Young Hero, Cursed Wicked, Wicked Cursed, Sorcerer Monster. I think there's one missing here, or maybe Virtuous Royal is the one other, that's the one. I'm not entirely sure why this one doesn't have, there's no other Virtuous counterpart. But as you can see, they've put them both way up for us, so that we can read them easily. And key takeaway from these, there's a few. They, first of all, are going to be permanents. Second of all, they're going to be tokens. Third of all, they're going to be enchantments, auras. So lots of interesting... This I think is actually going to be really, really cool. And it's going to change the way we play Magic for the next while. Especially in depending on how impactful they are, all the way back to more eternal formats. If they end up being that good, then this is going to impact Magic, for forever. But in terms of standard, which is what I like to talk about and my favorite format, until next rotation, And even then, no, because this set will still stick around next year. But anyway, these are gonna change the way we play the game quite significantly, IMO, because of all those card types, you know, that I just mentioned. They're tokens, they're enchantments, they're auras, they're and of course they all have these cool little abilities. So the monster one, we know, so pretty much all of them give +1/+1. They all give +1/+1 except for the curse roll, which makes a creature a 1/1, base power and toughness 1/1, and it's obviously the one that you want to be putting onto the opponent's creatures. But all of the other ones give +1/+1 and something else. So the monster is +1/+1 and trample. The sorcerer is +1/+1, and whenever this creature attacks, scry 1. Just very like on point flavor wise, you know. The wicked roll gives +1/+1, and if this is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. I think this is going to be my favorite one. I can't wait to. There's a deck that I've been theory brewing already in my mind, where you're like taking these rolls on and off of things, and there's other cards in the set that, like, when an enchantment enters the battlefield, ping the opponent, and then it going into the graveyard pings the opponent as well, and you sort of do this like enchantment sack deck with some drainy, which I love me. So I cannot wait to try that one out. Then we've got the cursed roll I just mentioned earlier. This is the one that you want to try and put onto the opponent's creatures and making them 1/1s. We've also got the royal roll, +1/+1, and ward 1. It's probably the weakest one. Hey, well, I mean, please sound off in the comments which you guys think. But honestly, I think this one's, man, like ward 1 is whatever. Then I'm a huge fan of this young hero. This one seems really good to me as well. It's probably my second favorite. So whenever the creature attacks, if its toughness is 3 or less, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And of course, that counter will stick around whether the roll is on it or not. So very nice. I like this one. And then last but not least, here we've got this virtuous roll. Enchantment creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. That one's going to be bursted, I think, because, you know, these are enchantments, first of all. And the enchantment deck is pretty damn ridiculous right now. Like, honestly, it's already ridiculous. I mean, you guys have been playing against Celestial Enchantments for how long now? Since Kamigawa came out. The deck just keeps getting better, and I think this set is going to give it yet another boost. So I hope, you know, we can figure out a way to beat them. I'm definitely one of those that prefers to try and beat them rather than join them. But at the same time, let's see if we can also build a really nice version of it that can maybe finally phase out some of the older cards from that deck. Things like Hallowed Haunting and Catilda. You know, they've been staples in that deck for a long time for good reason. They're incredibly strong cards. But maybe there's a more like aggressively slanted, more aura-focused one with Calyx that we can really go all in on the Calyx thing rather than this halfway, we're not quite sure where the deck needs to go, that it is right now. Because if you go on Celestial Enchantments on Untapped, there's a few different versions, and I think it's about time that there's like a real, the best one of the two like emerges and becomes like the dominant Celestial Enchantments deck. And I can't wait to help find that out alongside the community. But that is enough rambling as far as the rolls. Let me move myself to the corner over here so that we can go over some of the other stuff. So the lands, fantastic. They look beautiful. I don't think I'm going to splurge, though. I still think my Godzilla lands are more sexy than these full arts, even though they are really, really sexy. These cosmetics usually cost just a little bit too much in Arena, and I want to save all of my precious gems and gold for other things like booster packs. And so I don't think I'll be splurging for these ones. I still have not quite found the replacement for my gorgeous Godzilla lands from Ikoria, so I'm going to stick with those. Then we've got these dual lands, and I have some stuff to say about these. I must say, these look really, really good. Like, wowza. And I like it that, it's in the color combinations that I'm a huge fan of. There's a lot of, like, I really love Orzhov, I love Golgari, and I love Boros in particular, these three. And they're, like, probably the 3 best ones out of the 5 that we got. Like, wow, they're super good. I think these are also, like, they're not sleepers. People are definitely talking about them, but I don't think people quite yet realize how much these are going to impact the game. Like, it's been a while since we've had, like, man's lands that are this good. Right now, there's only really Mishra's Foundry and Mirex that are like, you know, comparable. These are like mwah, chef's kiss. I think my favorite by far is the Boros one, and this is one of the cards that we were not able to see in my spoiler talk episodes. It just didn't show up for whatever reason. So I just want to quickly touch upon it. It's of course they all add one or the other, and they always enter the battlefield tapped. So I probably will not be running more than one of these per deck, considering there's already so many other like things that you want to be running as far as utility lands and stuff. But definitely a one of, or maybe a two of, depending on the deck. We'll have to see. But anyway, this one you can pay 3. And it becomes a 2/2 red and white Ox creature token, Ox creature until end of turn. It's still a land, and then whenever it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control. So you can either just put it on it, or on one of your other creatures. And I like that because again, they're sweeper resistant. At the end of the turn, it goes back to being a land. Ta-da! And so in certain situations against aggro, which is Mr. Sunfall player, I beg your pardon, against control. If you're playing against Mr. Sunfall, which is every control deck that plays white right now, then this is going to be really nice. Like I think a bit stronger than Mishra's Foundry as a way to continue to apply pressure after a sweeper. The other ones we've already touched on have been Restless Cottage and Restless Fortress. We've already seen these two during my episodes of Spoiler Talk, so I won't go over those again. But we haven't seen the Restless Spire, which is I beg your pardon. Just need to quickly look at this. Until end of turn, Restless Spire becomes a 2/1 blue and red elemental creature with, as long as this is your turn, this creature has first strike. Whenever it attacks, scry 1. This, I think, is the least strong. Maybe it's okay because it's cheap. I think currently my ranking is going to be something like this: Restless Bivouac first, Restless Cottage second, Restless Fortress third. But it's like either Cottage or Fortress second or third. Like those two are vying, and then it's going to be Restless Spire fourth, and Restless Vinestalk fifth. Sorry, 1, 2, yeah, 5, yeah. So the Simic one again just lost. It's just too expensive. Costs 5 mana to activate. Becomes a 5/5. Yes, that's cool. And then whenever it attacks up to one other target creature has base power and toughness 3/3 until end of turn. So I guess, I mean, it's not terrible. It just costs a lot to do. And then like the effect, because they all have this extra effect when attacks, is probably the weakest one. But it's definitely vying for position with Restless Spire. Because yeah, scrying is nice, but it's only a 2/1. The first strike is nice, but that, it doesn't trade with too many things as a 2/1. The others just are so much better. This Drain and Gainsies with a 4 toughness, so you can swing anyway, even if you get blocked, doesn't matter. Your Restless Fortress doesn't die, but you still get, give the 2, loses 2 and you gain 2. I love that. The Bivouac, the fact that it can continue to grow bigger every time and it's got a really low activation cost. And then the Cottage, the fact that it's got Graveyard Hate and makes a food. Like, these 3 are definitely the better ones for me. But that is all I'm going to talk. This was part of the Commons dump from yesterday. The Crystal Grotto is back again. We've already got this in Standard right now, and now there's just another reprint, like, very soon after the previous one. I guess it's a nice little effect. I may end up playing a little bit more of these. So kind of mana fixing, and then the Scry one when it ETBs is nice. I don't know. It's really not terrible. So maybe a couple of these. Just they're starting to be like very little wiggle room in terms of utility lands, because Mirex is so good, and now there's going to be these, and let's see. All right. Now we're going on to the colorless. Let me make sure my face, isn't in the middle of the screen. I can put myself up here somewhere, and we can talk about some of these cards that we haven't seen already. So Scarecrow Guide is one of the commons that got dumped. And again, like, nothing really to talk about here. The Iron Crag, I misread. Thank you to Moon Watcher, as always, for keeping me on my toes with regards to... sorry, my wife sending me some pictures of food from the restaurant. You know, keeping me on my toes when I misread cards and that. Thank you, Moon. So it's about where these inverted commas end. What I said during the episode of Spoiler Talk was that the creature that it will become equipped to would lose all its abilities, but it's not. It's the Iron Crag itself that loses all abilities, and then the equipped creature just gets +3/+3. So it's actually not terrible, and because it changes name, the Iron Crag becomes a legendary equipment artifact named Everflame Hero's Legacy. That means you can play another Iron Crag, and the legendary rule, you know, then you can, you know, and it's a 2-mana rock. Like, I think this actually is going to end up being pretty okay. The equip cost of 3, and all it does is just give +3/+3. I don't know if like it's that amazing, but I can't wait to test it. Like, even just as a way to ramp quicker into your, like, you know, put it into your Power Stone deck with like all of the big cityscape levelers and whatnot. This could be pretty nice in there. But my main takeaway from these colorless cards for the set is Collector's Vault. I think this is a huge sleeper. This will allow you to cast your reanimation spell a turn early and will help you discard your reanimation targets. So, like, and it's a 2-drop. Like, I think this is a phenomenal card. And if you, like, tap it on 3, you'll still get left with a treasure. In case, you know, if you play it on 2, or you know, and then you wait until 4 to tap it, and then you can still hold up like a counter spell before you go for your reanimation spell. Like, there's so many lines. I think this card is gonna warp the format and is gonna really help those reanimation decks that I cannot wait to try with the Lich Knights. We'll get to it as we scroll through the new black reanimation spell. Not only because it makes artifacts that you can sack to that spell, but it is one itself. Cool little uncommon here. And then I don't think we got to see Hilda's Crown during my Spoiler Talk episode. So Hilda's Crown of Winter, legendary artifact, kind of like the Tempting Apple, but this one's rare. You can pay 1 to tap a target creature. This ability costs 1 less to activate during your turn. So for free. That's actually pretty busted. You can do what? This ability costs 1 less to activate during your turn. So on your turn, you can tap a creature for free. During the opponent's turn, you pay 1. That is so bested. 3 mana, sack it. Draw a card for each tap creature your opponent controls. Nice. This is... I can't wait to try this Hilda deck. I'm really looking forward. Definitely a few from the multicolored cards here that I was not able to go over during Spoiler Talk, and namely the Apprentice's Folly. And this is the one that I wanted to bring up. I mentioned it a few times, where with the bargain mechanic, we'll be able to sacrifice some of these sagas before the final trigger resolves. So, or, you know, even goes on the stack. There's a few spells that have instant speed bargain, and you bargain away your Apprentice's Folly. You let the second chapter go off, and then you bargain it away so that the third chapter never goes off, and then you get to keep your reflections. So for those of you who haven't seen this card yet, ooh, shenanigans. The brewing juices are well and truly flowing with this one. Okay? First 2 chapters. Chapter 1, choose target non-token creature you control that doesn't have the same name as a token you control. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary. It is a reflection in addition to its other types, and has haste. You can do that twice, and then the final chapter is sacrifice all reflections you control. If you bargain it away before that final chapter rolls around, you don't have to sacrifice jack diddly squat. And so... Shenanigans. I can only imagine what I'm gonna get up to with this thing. I'm like, the possibilities are endless. I cannot wait to get in the lab and start tinkering with this card and to see how it actually plays, you know, on Arena. So stay tuned for some Apprentice Folly nonsense, guys, because this is a cool effect, and the fact that you can stop it before it finishes, it makes it just even better thanks to the bargain mechanic. Then now the cards here are going to be separated into colors. So I think it'll be best for me to just, I don't know, let me just see how it is that they've done it. So it's commons at the bottom, and then it goes into, it looks like that. Uncommons mostly. No, there's still some commons here. Yeah, the uncommons. Yeah. Okay, so it's sorted by rarity. And here comes the first few rares. See, like things like Food Fight. We never got to see this card. There's a few cards that I don't know why like they didn't put them out in the proper order on you know, on Mythic Spoiler, which is the website that I rely on for this type of stuff. But I think I'll just take it from the top and move into the portion of the video where we just discuss sort of general things that I may have missed or not touched upon yet during previous episodes of Spoiler Talk. So let me put myself up here in the corner. Hello! And let's go over some of these lovely cards. I cannot wait, guys. Oh, 6 days to go till early access. Moonshaker Cavalry, we saw during the Barcelona panel. This card is going to be, I think, pretty damn insane in the right shell. I think the only thing in standard that really sticks out to me is as a 4 of in your you know, rabble rousing deck. Go wide, rabble rousing, attack, hit the Moonshaker Cavalry, win the game. It's going to be very like glass cannon, silver bullet, whatever you want to call those types of decks. So like if you don't get that to happen, the deck sucks. But if you do get it to happen, you win 100% of the time. And let's see. Really cool effect. I hope we get it to actually work. It is very expensive, so I don't see go wide tokens deck or anything like that having the chance against any kind of deck right now. Honestly, like everyone's playing Brotherhood's End or freaking Burn Down the House or Depopulate or Sunfall or Farewell. I mean, there's just so many options for sweepers that you won't just be able to play a game fairly till turn 8 and then play this and attack. Like, it'll never happen. You need to cheat this in somehow. So straight away I jump to rabble rousing. Of course, there's other ways of doing things like that, reanimation and whatnot. So let's see. I can't quite see how like a reanimation deck and a go wide tokens deck are gonna somehow combine. So it's probably more likely gonna be a rabble rousing deck. Can't wait to try it. Then let's talk about Ashiok quickly. Again, now that the whole set is spoiled, is there, you know, have we figured out like how this is like it just seems so weird. It seems so weird. I mean, yes, there's some stuff that goes with it, but I mean, especially okay. Let's just reread it again. So if you would pay life while your library has at least that many cards in it, exile that many cards from the top of your library instead. Just such a weird static ability. I just don't. But okay, there's plenty of things now. Like people have been on my Discord and on Twitter and whatnot, bringing up things that'll like trigger that. Cool. And then look at the top 2 cards of your library. Exile one of them, put the other into your hand. That's okay. Then create 2 1/1 Black Nightmare creature tokens with at the beginning of combat on your turn. If a card we put in exile this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So these 2 abilities just work with each other, right? You keep putting +1/+1s on the guys because you keep +1 and you're exiling stuff. And then the -7, target player exiles the top X cards of their library, where X is the total mana value of cards you own in exile. So, of course, the adventure cards, when you do an adventure, they go into the adventure zone, but that is essentially exile. So maybe I still don't see it. I've read the whole set. I've seen all of the cards now, and I still just like it's such a weird like Planeswalker for it to be the Planeswalker of the set. Like I mean, it's a good one, but it doesn't like super synergize with any of the other tribal things that are going on. It doesn't immediately like fit into like there isn't a deck that just seems to like immediately form around her. Like it's gonna or it or she or them. I can't remember what what pronoun I'm supposed to be using with Ashiok, but yeah, cannot wait to try. Still just don't quite see it. Then yesterday we got the last 2 of these virtues, Virtue of Strength, and then this Japanese one. Of course, the green one, as always, is the worst one. I think like 7 mana. I mean, I've got some ideas. I've got some shenanigans. Sorry, the wife again. Like, I've thought of a few things. So basically, if you tap a basic land for a mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead. So putting this in a deck, trying to sort of do the similar thing that I'm currently doing with Mind Splice Apparatus, where instead of reducing the casting cost of stuff, you just are able to produce an obscene amount of mana, and you achieve the same thing. That is casting a spell, a super duper spell that has like X in the casting cost or whatever, and lining up for a 1-turn kill. So I can imagine a deck where we ramp heavily into this, and then have like 4 play with fires. Light up the night in your deck, and then you just like, you know, X is 20, go face, boom, boom, giant fireball. In like some kind of Gruul or maybe even Teamer control. Teamer ramp. It's not too far-fetched. I can see myself trying that, actually, and it might even be okay. But it's a 7-mana enchantment. The adventure is terrible. Guaranteed growth. Return target creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. Meh. But okay, cool. Personally, I think it's the worst one of the cycle. Then we've got the one in Asian here, the red one, Virtue of Courage. 3 and 2 red. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you may exile that many cards from the top of your library. You may play those cards this turn. And then the adventure is a basically just stomp from Bone Crusher Giant. 1 in a red, instant, 2 damage, any target. I think this one's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Kind of exactly my thoughts. But still, like, I think probably quite playable. It depends. Like, well, again, all of these I'm going to just have to try. But the effect is cool. Because card advantage. Maybe even in this Urabrask deck. Maybe we do Simic. Is it Urabrask and it finally has like a better way of getting cards to cast and flip Urabrask. Without, you know, running out of cards. Generally, that's what happens in that deck. The times I've tried to play it, I can never flip Urabrask because I run out of cards. And then you're forced to use things like Reckless Impulse and Ren's Resolve. You run out of those as well, or you just don't top deck one at the right moment, and then the opponent just removes your Urabrask, and then your whole deck just falls apart. Like, maybe this is what it needed. And it's, you know, the next card, it's Urabrask on 4, play this on 5, then start going off with your burn spells. I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I cannot wait to try it. But yeah, if I had to rank the virtues over here, I would say my favorite is probably the black one. Second favorite is the white one. Then the red one. Then green, then blue. Blue is just Panharmonicon in blue that costs more, but yeah, the black one is looking really good, and the white one. So let's see. I cannot wait to test all of these out. Then skipping through, let's pick up speed here a little bit because I'm going a bit long with the video. These are all cards that we've seen already. These are all cards that we've seen already. I don't believe I've actually covered Twinning Twins on an episode of Spoiler Talk yet. It's one of those that went beneath the radar for whatever reason, but this one is pretty damn nice looking as far as the rare, like, dual color adventure creature things. It's a 4-mana 4/4 flying vigilance ward 1. So rate-wise, already pretty good. And then the adventure is a 2-mana instant called Swift Spiral. Exile target non-token creature, return it to the battlefield. So it's a flicker effect attached onto a 4/4 vigilance flying for 4. I think this one's pretty damn nice. You know, still like for me, at least, the best thing to be flickering still in standard is just the prototype creatures. And the blue prototype isn't that great. And the white one is nice, the Steel Seraph. But there aren't like too many amazing things to, you know, creatures with amazing ETB triggers that you want to be doing this with. Like some stuff, but nothing crazy daisy. So let's see. But still a nice card. I thought I'd touch upon it quickly. The Elusive Otter. Have we seen this one in my spoiler episodes? I know I've seen it. It's a 1-mana 1/1 with prowess. Creatures with power. Oop. Creatures with power less than Elusive Otter's power can't block it. I think we did see this in spoiler talk, previous episodes. Distribute X+1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. Nice. I have a feeling, just gonna go out on a limb here, we're getting a lot of these like otters and raccoons, and you know, they're getting ready for that that set that's coming out next year. That's all like animals. What was it called again? Like Bloom something. I think that's going to be a really cool set. Like, I'm all for that sort of stuff, and I think they're starting to like seed us with a few things for that, like foxes and otters and raccoons, and you know, there's been lots. So for rabbits, I think they're getting ready for that set next year. Decadent Dragon, amazing, can't wait to play with it. But these are all things we've touched upon. I know for a fact I have not seen Devouring Sugarmore or Archon of the Wild Rose on my episodes of Spoiler Talk, so just a couple cards that definitely I missed for whatever reason. So let's just quickly go over them. We've got a 4-mana 4/4 with flying. Other creatures you control that are enchanted by auras you control have base power and toughness 4/4 and have flying. Pretty nice. It you know, you set up a turn where you're putting a bunch of roll tokens probably on little tiny dinky creatures, and then you play this guy, and suddenly they all like gain flying and 4/4, and you swing for the kill. And then if that doesn't kill the opponent, you're still left with like, you know, a 4/4 flyer that they need to deal with. Yeah, so initially it looks like, oh, it's just a 4/4 do nothing, and then you have to wait till the next turn to do something. No, if you set up the board state properly, the opponent thinks he's safe. You've just got a bunch of little 1/1s and stuff, but they've all got auras on them, and then you play this guy flying 4/4 bang. I think that's really nice. So keep an eye out on the Archon here. Ingenious Prodigy, really nice little card. It's like just a curve filler for blue decks. Blue X decks, I guess. You could play this in a few different colors. I'm thinking probably Izzet. But yeah, it just scales. It's one of these that scales. So you can play it 4X and 1 blue. And it enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. So top deck one of these in the super late game, you're happy. Because you just dump all your mana into it and make this huge creature. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if it has 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove one. And if you do draw a card, so you're getting double card draws on your upkeeps. I guess you can find ways of putting more counters onto it. I think that's a really nice little card, actually. Really nice. Next up, we got Devouring Sugarmore. One that I haven't touched upon yet. I think this is really fun. I don't know, like, you know, right now we've got the Archfiend of the Dross. That's also a 4-mana 6/6 with flying. And it does see some play. It's one of those dual color adventure creature things. So the adventure side, you know, it's supposed to be played in an Orzhov deck, I guess. So it's an adventure instant. For 2 mana, you make a 1/1 human creature token and a food. I think that's really good. Especially going forwards with all the bargain stuff. I think this is really good. And then you get this Menacing Trample that at the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice an artifact or enchantment or token. So the same text as bargain. And if you don't, you tap it. So really quite easy to make it your deck in such a way that you've always got one of these things to sacrifice. And then you just get a 6/6 Menace Trample for 4. I think this will see some play. It's just, anything on the 4-drop slot in black is competing with Sheoldred and other amazing cards. Archfiend of the Dross, your Obliterators and whatnot. So it has to be really, really good to see any play. But it's just that most of those cards I just mentioned are just played in mono black. This you can probably put in like some sort of other color combinations other than just Orzhov. Maybe Abzan, maybe, Esper, maybe, one of the other black and white X color combinations. I think this is a really cool card. I cannot wait to play with this one. Super duper strong. And of course, the same thing that you can say about the Archfiend of the Dross for your fight rigging decks. It's a 4-drop that, immediately triggers fight rigging with just one more counter. Pretty nice. So what? Abzan fight rigging? Cool. I'll definitely try it. Next up, we got the Rotisserie Elemental. I think we've seen this one, actually. Yeah, we've already gone over this one. Sentinel of Lost Lore. 3/4 when an ETB's return target. Put a card down on an exile that has an adventure at the bottom of your exile target player's graveyard. Phew. This set is freaking ridiculous. I'm so excited. Lich Knight's Conquest, you beauty. One of the cards I'm the most excited to brew around. Yeah, we've seen this, we've seen this, we've seen this. Questing Druid. What a card. Whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, or black, or red, so pretty much every color except for green, you put a 1/1 counter on him, and then the instant exile up to 2 cards from your library until the end of your next end step. You may play those cards. What a card. What a card. Like, this one and the Golgari one is, we'll get to it. I'll point it out. Is also so good. I'm so excited to play with this one. Spellbook Vendor, meh. Sleep Cursed Fairy, 1 mana 3/3, but it's got counters. So you gotta wait for the stun counters to go away naturally, or you're gonna pay the 2. Probably not too shabby. You play this on 1, on 2 you play a land. Untap it, attack. On 3, play a land, untap it, keep one land open, play another 1/1. I don't know. Clearly, it's rare. It's a 1 mana 3/3 Flying War 2. That's obviously a good card. It's just it comes into play with 3 stun counters on it, so they had to, give it a bit of a drawback for it being so overpowered for the rate. And I think we can get around it. And I think if Fairies is going to be a strong deck, Dimir Fairies, this will be, or maybe Esper Fairies, or it's looking like maybe Azorius Fairies, and this is going to be an important part of that. And Lord Skitter, Sewer King. Whenever another rat enters the battlefield under your control, exile up to 1 target card from an opponent's graveyard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a rat. So, graveyard haste on a 3/3. This rat thing is going to be so cool. I've mentioned this a few times in spoiler talk. Lots of 3-drops. Going to be tough to find the exact perfect ones that synergize best with each other, and deciding what needs to, be cut and won't make the deck ultimately. Yeah, we've seen Immerdan, Gruff Triplets. I don't think we've seen this one on spoiler talk. 5 mana for a 3/3 trample, but when it enters the battlefield, if it isn't a token, you create 2 tokens that are copies of it. So again, we were just earlier talking about lack of good things to flicker. This might be a good thing to flicker. I just don't know if you'll be putting it in a deck with the twinning sprites, maybe more like Bant flicker, maybe, actually. Now that I mention it, then if one of them dies, you put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to its power on each creature. So, each time one dies, the remaining ones get bigger until at the end you're left with just 1. And if I've done my math correctly, it'll be a 9/9 trample. So, I mean, obviously terrible against Sunfall once again, but otherwise a really cool effect. I don't know if this will end up being any good, but it's on paper it looks fantastic. Cannot wait to try and jam this one. A lot of people on Twitter saying, oh my god, the new finisher for control, Horn-Locked Whale, every control mage is going to just be playing this now. My answer to that has been, what? 6 mana, 6/6 flash, ward 2, where it enters the battlefield tapped unless it's your turn. So you flash it in, so then you untap, and it's got ward 2, and it's a 6/6. Yeah. Why is this better than Hullbreaker Horror, one of my most hated cards ever? Hullbreaker Horror has flash, it just costs 1 mana more, but it cannot be countered, and then it has that ridiculous text box where, like, if you play it in the right moment, the opponent essentially can never put a thing, never do anything ever again for the rest of the game. You just completely lock them out of the game. I think it's just better. And it sees almost no play. Like, I come across a Hullbreaker Horror once in a blue moon. Like, very, very rarely is that the finisher that control mages go for. Right now, honestly, I think it's mostly Jace and Breach the Multiverse and Milling and that kind of thing for control. That is the best win con. Not the Hullbreaker Horror, and the meta speaks for itself. You never see the card, and it's so much better than this card, IMO. Most people saying, yes, but the Hullbreaker Horror doesn't come with a 2 mana interaction staple to it. So it's not even really good. It just like returns. You put a creature to the bottom or top of the opponent's library, and you'll mostly choose top, most cases, right? And then just play it again. Oh yes, you can counter it again on the way down, but now your Horn-Locked Whale is in the adventure zone. So the whole element of surprise where you flash in 6/6 ward 2 at their end of turn, and then you attack with it and kill them, is gone, because now it's in your adventure zone. They know you've got it, and they'll play around it. So it is a good card. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's worse than Hullbreaker Horror, and that sees almost no play. So why should this see any play? Let's see. Tangle Colony. Tangle Colony can't block. When it dies, create X/1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block, or X is the number of damage dealt with this turn. I think we have seen this one on my spoiler talk episodes, but one of the key pieces, I think, for the rat tribal thing, and one of the cards that we definitely haven't seen on spoiler talk yet that goes right along with that is the Song of Tottentans. I am so hyped to play with this one, guys. X and 1. Talking about things to dump a bunch of mana into. I mean, I don't think we'll be using Virtue of Strength alongside Song of Tottentans, but create X/1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. Top deck this in the late game when you've got a bunch of mana and you just fire one of these off for like X's 8 or something, and all those rats gain haste, and you just boom 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 8 damage out of nowhere. It's reminding me a lot of something like Shivan Devastator, you know? I like this one a lot. Your opponent hits you with the sweeper. You have that, we'll get to her, the sewer gutter witch, yeah, or the twisted sewer witch, where now you've given all of your rat tokens wicked rolls, so when they die, they get, the opponent gets pinged for 1 life. Then he hits you with the Sunfall. You're like, oh no, the control mage has me on the run. And then you top deck a Song of Tottentans and just like make another freaking 8 rats and go boom, boom, boom. Super cool card. I cannot wait to play with this one. I did mention, I was talking about the Questing Druid guy here. This Mosswood Dread Knight is the Golgari one that is like on par, if not better, than the Questing Druid. 2 mana, 3/2 trample. In your finally Golgari aggro is going to be a thing. I've been already trying it, with your Glissers and whatnot. I think like finally we got a really good 2-drop that's like in a way better than the Tenacious Underdog. It's a 2 mana 3/2, just like Tenacious Underdog. This one has trample though, and then when it dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn. So it can keep coming back, and it's got this cool little adventure where you draw a card, you lose a life. you know, it's very reminiscent of Tenacious Underdog design-wise, without the blitz, just slightly different way of doing things, but it's got the trample. I don't know, I'm really hyped on this one. Like, these two cards, Mosswood Dread Knight and Questing Druid, I think are gonna, like, be defining cards. I think you can safely craft, like, yourself 3 or 4 of these. But if you don't want to go right ahead and try it, wait until I give it a try for you during early access, and on day 1, I've already got enough boosters to craft the whole set on day 1, and then I'm going to be doing all the brewing and testing for you guys, and I'll let you know whether, you know, these decks are worth your precious, precious wild cards. Food fight. Artifacts you control have 2. Sacrifices artifact. It deals damage to any target, +1 number of permanents named Food Fight you control. You know, put like multiples of these on the battlefield and not legendaries. Now your food becomes burn. I love that. I love that. Can't wait to try this. It was one of the ones that I didn't get to see in spoiler talks until now because, as you can see, it was one of the leaks. Really nice one. Picking up pace a little bit, we're getting into the more common stuff. I don't think we got to see Lord Skitter's Blessing. Just in case, I'll quickly touch upon it. When it enters the battlefield, create a Wicked Roll token attached to a target creature you control. At the beginning of your draw step, if you're... at the beginning of your draw step, yeah. If you control an enchanted creature, you lose 1 life and you draw an additional card. So very much reminding me of something like Arena, Phyrexian Arena, but for 2 mana. You'll like build your deck in such a way that you can mitigate this life loss, and then you're just drawing extra cards. I think this is definitely gonna see play. Definitely worth at least 3 of your wild cards. But again, I'm gonna test it out. And now we're getting into the like lower rarity stuff, and I just wanted to pick and choose 1 or 2 that came out in the final dump day. So let's just do it like this. These are all the comments from the final day. And I just want to quickly touch these. Oh, quick study. 3 mana, draw 2. It's back. People said it wasn't going to be possible. 3 mana, draw 2. No discard. It's like this effect has costed 4 mana for the last, I don't know how many years. So, woohoo! Control mages rejoice. Tempo mages, I don't know, like this is a pretty important moment. Think about the last, how many cards that we've had in Standard where you draw 2. You just draw 2. They've all costed 4 mana for a long, long time. So, woohoo! 3 mana, draw 2 is back. Let's see how this affects things. Cannot wait to see. The last time there was a thing like this in Standard, honestly, was a long time ago. I know the name of the card. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, let's go see what other people are saying. Meh. Man, people are so low on this. Yeah, Divination was the card I'm talking about. Yeah, okay. People are just having the worst takes on this one. I think it's pretty relevant. Let's just see if I'm wrong or if the people in those comments were right, but 3 mana, draw 2 is back. Instant speed. But as far as the commons, I went through all of them. A couple of things jumped out to me. Like, first of all, I've been playing a lot of Virtuoso decks again, off camera, for my own fun in Mythic this season. A lot. I've been trying Bant, I've been trying Azorius again, I've been trying Boros, I've been trying Selesnya. And a bunch of these cool little combat tricks. We already saw that Wings of Water or something a little further down. Titanic Growth, +4/+4 until end of turn is back. Leaping Ambush, +1/+3 and gains reach until end of turn. Untap it. You know, again, maybe for the Bant one. Or the Selesnya version with Virtuoso. these types of decks where you like want to be targeting your thing. Maybe you're a Simic Rot Priest deck. These little, I just wanted to point out that there's some pretty cool little combat tricks in green that came out in the final day commons dump. Nothing really stuck out to me from these others, especially in the red. Like, there was really nothing too amazing to write home about. I was also looking for other combat tricks, and this one isn't that great. Scry 1, +1/+0, and gains first strike. Yeah, we've got better things already that give trample and whatnot, that scale with X in it and stuff in standard right now, and they don't see any play, so I don't think this will see any play. Yeah, outside of draft. So nothing really that crazy to talk about in the red cards, honestly. I mean, this one seemed okay. Grabby Giant, definitely for limited, like, make a treasure for 2 at instant, and that'll help you, you know, then on turn 3, you play a land, you can cast your Crabby Giant on 3, and then you get a 4/3 reach that you can sacrifice an artifact and or land, draw a card. It's actually not a shabby little package for a common. I think this will see some definite play in draft. I don't know if it's worth it in standard, in constructed. Wicked Visitor. Talking about this deck that I want to build where, like, you're putting your rolls, the wicked rolls that drain the opponent for 1 into the graveyard whenever you swap rolls on a creature. And then you've got the Wicked Visitor that, you know, whenever an enchantment goes into a graveyard, you ping them again. So it's the double drainies for 1 enchantment leaving the board. Cannot wait to test that deck. And maybe this is going to end up being like a pivotal little, like, oil glue card, as I call them, or a cog card in that deck. So keep your eyes on Wicked Visitor. That's the only one that really stood out to me from this common dump in black. Blue cards, you know, I don't really like them generally, but I did go over all of them. This dragon here is okay. It's 6 mana. Yeah, no, just nah. Mostly just draft chaff. In the white cards, though, there's a really good one that I'm about to get to. Just kind of quickly glancing over if there was anything that I missed, but nah, these all seem pretty terrible. More draft chaff that I don't think we'll see much play. But we got the best, you know, pacifism ever. As if enchantments didn't need like another freaking amazing card. Oh, and these enchantments, we've seen one in every color, I believe, where you can pay something to sack it, and they all do something when they die. In the case of the white one, it's Scry 2, and then they do something when you enter the battlefield, and then you can, you know, this is obviously the type of thing where you play it on 2, you make a little 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance, and then you can bargain it. You use it as bargain fodder, and then you get the death trigger anyway. And if you don't have something to bargain with, it's got a way for you to get rid of it without the bargain, so you can still get the value from it going into the graveyard. There's one for every color so far that I've seen, I believe, and the white one's not too shabby. You know, 2 mana, 2/2 vigilance, and then does stuff. You know, it's a relevant permanent type, puts 2 permanents on the battlefield for 2 mana. You know, you get this extra scry action, it becomes bargain fodder. Not too shabby. But really, the one I really wanted to talk about today, and this is going to be the last thing that I'm talking about before we end this episode of Spoiler Talk. Cooped Up, 2 mana, enchant target creature, can't attack or block, and then you can pay 3 to exile it. What? Best pacifism ever. The power creep on these little common pacifism effects has been quite insane. I've seen others mentioning this on Twitter, like, pretty nice, not gonna lie. And if that deck with Ariette becomes a thing, then now we've got like at least 3 or 4 of these 2 mana and, you know, things that you put on the opponent's creatures to make them bad, alongside the cursed roll. You know, that you just make the thing a 1/1. This is just another piece for the Ariette deck. And the fact that you can also then, you know, later in the game, if you want, exile it, or if you have 5 mana, you just do it and then exile it straight away. I think this could definitely be an uncommon. What do you guys think? But guys, that is it. That is it. This is the final episodes of Spoiler Talk for Wilds of Eldraine. The complete set is out. I am going to go do some theory brewing. If you're already part of the Discord community, let's start a discourse. Let's get theory brewing. I want your ideas. I want to give you some ideas. Let's get the ball rolling. We've only got about 6 days to go before I'm, going to be facing off against all of the other content creators in the early access event, and then shortly after that, the whole set's going to release on Arena, and it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. But yeah, as far as an overall review, now that we've seen everything, extremely hyped. Will definitely warp the meta a lot. Thank goodness. I was really hoping that, the set would be OP and super duper crazy cool new mechanics and stuff that would, like, finally, considering the fact that we didn't get rotation this year, shuffle up the meta as far as standard is concerned, and I think they've nailed it. Super strong cards, really cool new effects, different tribes, different color combos, different the man lands. I mean, there's just so much. There's so much for a brewer like me. I'm so content. I know that this is going to give me endless months of brewing potential, figuring out how these things synergize with the older sets, all the various tribal things. I'm going to go nuts. I cannot freaking wait. I haven't been this hyped since Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, honestly. The Phyrexia War arc thing was cool, but not that cool for me personally. This has me so damn hyped. Like, I haven't been this excited for a Magic set, like I said, since Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and I cannot wait to get my hands on these cards. So, yeah, guys, please sound off in the comments. What do you think? Did I miss anything? Any crucial, like, little cool interactions, things that I completely just overlooked? Did I misread any cards? Are there any cards that I didn't touch upon as, like, standouts that really stood out to you? All that kind of stuff. Please let me know in the comments. And again, join our lovely Discord community. Let's start theory brewing. But yeah, that is it, guys. That is it. I will be seeing you all during early access. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab signing out. Peace, y'all.